Did you know while filming Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift in Tokyo, Universal Studios actually hired someone to get arrested and spend the night in jail as a fall guy? Here's what happened. When production started, the director quickly realized Tokyo doesn't issue filming permits. That meant random pedestrians were constantly walking through shots, and technically, they had no legal right to film on the streets. During one shoot, the crew filmed a big street scene anyway, and sure enough, the police showed up ready to arrest the director. He didn't realize that this is something he was going to be arrested for, and started to panic. Until a guy from the crew suddenly stepped forward, and said, "I'm the director." It turns out Universal hired him specifically to take the blame and spend the night in jail if things went south. The real director said he'll be forever grateful for that man. What's interesting is that this is one of the only scenes that was actually filmed in Tokyo. The majority of them were filmed in LA, using CGI and transforming California neighborhoods to look like Japan's capital city. Did you know, for Spider-Man, made in 2002, that Willem Dafoe was never the intended choice to play the Green Goblin? The director, Sam Raimi, originally wanted Billy Crudup, but after Dafoe got his hands on the script, he campaigned hard to get the role. He even filmed his own test footage in a hotel room while working in Spain just to prove that he was the right fit for Norman Osborn. His dedication to the role was a big part of what made him such an ideal choice. He actually insisted on performing 95% of his own stunts to ensure that the Goblin's movements felt authentic and matched Norman's. He loved the role so much that he practically begged Sam Raimi to let him return for the sequel, despite his character being dead. Raimi agreed, setting aside a single day during Spider-Man 2 to film Norman Osborn's haunting cameo in Harry's memories. There is a lot of good casting when it comes to superhero films, but I think you'd have a hard time finding a better fit than Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin. He plays the cold Norman just as well as the crazy Goblin. Did you know, in Weapons, made in 2025, there is a ton of foreshadowing in the film, where if you watch it again, you can see how clear the ending is. At the start of the movie, we see Justine is teaching her class about parasites shortly before the kids are taken. We see Principal Marcus watching a documentary about cordyceps and its effects on ants. This involves robbing them of their free will and making them do whatever the parasite wants, which fits with Gladys taking over Alex's household and possessing people with her magic. James notices a copy of Willow on this shelf right here, and just like in Weapons, Willow is about a witch who attacks children, and her own spell is ultimately her downfall. Speaking of the witch, when Aunt Gladys says this...
Yes.
Oh, no, it's not serious. Nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
A touch of consumption?
It's a clue that she's been around for a long time. Consumption as a descriptor for tuberculosis started around the 14th century and went out of style by the 20s. Did you know that the most iconic scene in La La Land had to be filmed in a very stressful 30-minute window? The director of photography revealed that the crew had to catch a specific magic hour twilight between exactly 7:20 p.m. and 7:50 p.m. They only had 2 days to get it right before the purple light vanished completely. Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling had to perform the complex routine perfectly, and that over those 2 days, they only managed to squeeze in 5 full takes. After every single attempt, the actors would race back to the starting position while assistants frantically wiped away their sweat so they'd look fresh for the next shot. The shot is in 1 take, but all 5 times they managed to finish the scene due to the amount of practice they had done beforehand. In the end, the director chose the 4th take for the final cut of the film. I can't even imagine how stressful this was, not only to do so many takes, but also to be racing the sun and it being the scene when you think of the movie. Make sure to follow for more film facts. Did you know that Mean Girls was originally a rated R film and had to cut a few things out to bring it down to PG-13? When first submitted to the MPA, the organization that determines what ratings movies are given, the producers were shocked to see that it was categorized as an 18+ film. The original movie is almost the same as what we got, but 2 lines are what pushed it over the edge from PG-13 to R. In this scene,
"Is your muffin buttered?"
the original line was, "Is your cherry popped?" The MPA said that was too risque for PG-13, but it wasn't the only line that had to be changed. This line
Made out with a hot dog.
Oh my god, that was one time!
wasn't gonna be about making out, but enjoying yourself with a hot dog. Now, there was actually one more thing the MPA said wasn't allowed for PG-13. It was this line.
I can't help it if I've got a heavy flow and a wide-set vagina.
But the director insisted that this stay in, and claimed that the ratings board was being sexist because there was plenty of male anatomy jokes in PG-13 movies, and the board agreed that they were being sexist, and actually let it stay in. Did you know that the only reason we have the Home Alone movie is because Chevy Chase is an asshole? It all started when Chris Columbus, who would go on to direct Home Alone, was hired as the director for another holiday classic, Christmas Vacation. It was his first time ever directing a movie, and he sat down with Chevy to talk about the film. Columbus claims that he talked for over half an hour, but Chevy wouldn't say a word to him or even look at him. About 40 minutes into the meeting, he looks over and says, "Wait a second, you're the director?" And Chris says, "Yeah, I'm directing the film." And then Chevy Chase says, "Oh, I thought you were a drummer." Chris says that he still doesn't understand what that means to this day, but about 30 seconds later, Chevy gets up and says he has to leave. They later had another meeting, and that went about the same, and Chris said he wouldn't work with him, which is a very common story in Hollywood. So he quit, and they got John Hughes to direct the film instead, and because of this success, John got to offer him an alternate Christmas movie to direct, which was Home Alone. So if you like that movie, thank Chevy Chase for being a jerk, I guess. Did you know that long before Pedro Pascal was everywhere, Jim Carrey was the man you couldn't get away from in 1994? That was the year he became the first actor to ever have 3 films go straight to #1 in the same year. February 4th, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, came out and went straight to #1 with over $100 million at the box office. Jim was paid $350,000 for this role, but that $100 million box office would be peanuts just 5 months later. July 29th, 1994, The Mask released to explosive success, making $350 million at the box office. Jim was paid around $500,000 for that one. And then 5 months later, Dumb and Dumber came out December 6th, his final movie of the year. That film made $250 million at the box office, but this time, Jim Carrey was paid a whopping $7 million. I can't even imagine how on top of the world he must have been feeling. Did you know that the movie Zero Dark 30 has a pretty huge controversy that they handled so poorly? The movie starts with real-life phone recordings from September 11th, 2001. One of those extensive calls is from Betty Ong, a flight attendant on one of the hijacked planes.
And I think there's mates that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
The filmmakers took this clip with no permission from the family and didn't attribute Betty at all. When the film was released, Ong's family was shocked, but only requested 3 things. 1, that Sony, who made the film, make a charitable donation. 2, that they go on record saying that the Ong family does not endorse the use of torture, which is depicted in the film. And 3, if the film won any awards at the Oscars, that the filmmakers would apologize for using the clip without the family's consent. That's it. And the film actually did go on to win an Oscar, but all of the requests that the family made were ignored. Did you know that on his deathbed, Freddie Mercury was the reason that we have the iconic intro in Wayne's World? When working on the film, writer Mike Myers fought tooth and nail to include the song in the opening of the movie. The producers hated the idea, but Mike was so persistent that he threatened to quit if Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't in the film. The studio caved, but it wasn't just up to them. The band had to agree to license the song. So Mike actually got in contact with Brian May, the lead guitarist for the band, and told him about the film. Brian then went to Freddie, who wasn't in a good state, but wanted to see the advanced copy of the movie. The 2 bandmates watched the film together for the first time and loved it. Freddie said that the humor in the movie was just like the band's, and they said that they even did the same thing, bouncing up and down in their car, listening to their own music. He gave his approval, and the song's appearance in the movie revived it and sent it on a second run in the music charts, and helped Queen launch a comeback in the United States. Did you know that the huge animatronic T-Rex in Jurassic Park malfunctioned on set and started coming to life on its own? When Steven Spielberg was filming Jurassic Park, the production used a massive life-size animatronic T-Rex built by Stan Wilson's team. The T-Rex was 40 feet long, weighed over 12,000 pounds, and was controlled by a small army of puppeteers. The problem was that it kept coming alive when it shouldn't have. Whenever it rained, and it rained a lot during the filming of this movie, water would soak into the T-Rex's foam latex skin, making it heavier and harder to control. But even worse, sometimes the water would short-circuit the hydraulics, causing the T-Rex to start shaking and moving on its own between takes. Crew members said that it was absolutely terrifying, and the special effects supervisor said, quote, "You'd be eating, and all of a sudden a 12,000-pound T-Rex would start shaking. Everyone would jump," unquote. Spielberg had to restructure entire sequences to account for the unexpected personality of the T-Rex. Did you know that one of the most memorable scenes in the Indiana Jones franchise only happened because Harrison Ford had to go to the bathroom? In 1981, while filming Raiders of the Lost Ark in Tunisia, the crew had been battling brutal heat for 6 weeks, and because they were eating street food, Harrison Ford got dysentery in the final 3 days of filming there. This is when they were supposed to film a huge choreographed fight scene with Indy and his whip versus the master swordsman. But Harrison Ford was so sick, he went up to Steven Spielberg and asked, "Can't I just shoot this prick?" Spielberg thought it was a great idea, as it was in character with Indy, and he was suffering from the heat as well. Now don't get me wrong, the fight scene would have been awesome. It was 3 pages long and was supposed to showcase how masterful Indiana was with his whip. I really like what we got in the end though. There's actually some behind the scenes footage of them rehearsing the fight, but again, the scene we got just works better. That's what makes filmmaking such an interesting art form. Someone getting food poisoning leading to an iconic moment that will long outlive the actor and director. Did you know I was invited to watch a live recording of the Severance podcast, where almost all of the main cast members showed up? I just watched the show for the first time a few months ago, and I am obsessed, so seeing them in person was such an amazing experience. The one thing I wasn't expecting was how funny all of them were, especially John Turturro, who plays Irving B. The episode is live on Apple Podcast, and I highly recommend it. Thank you so much, Apple TV Plus, for having me at this event. Did you know there was a live-action Dragon Ball movie that was so bad, the creator of the franchise had to come out of retirement? Dragon Ball Evolution released in 2009 and was made to reach a wider audience than the anime had. It was a complete failure, hated by critics, audiences, and even the actors and creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. Toriyama originally wasn't planning to come back to Dragon Ball. He had stepped back from the series after the manga ended in the 90s and was mostly just doing some small projects. He hated the movie so much though that he thought it would affect his legacy, and came out of a retirement and took a lead role for the anime movie Dragon Ball Z: Battle of the Gods. This movie single-handedly led to the Dragon Ball resurgence that we're still experiencing today. We got Resurrection F and Dragon Ball Super because of it. What's even crazier is that James Marsters, who played Piccolo in Evolutions, felt so bad about how terrible the movie was, he lent his voice to Dragon Ball Super for free as a way to atone for the live-action film. Did you know that Shrek was going to have a completely different voice? Twice, and it cost DreamWorks a lot of money. Mike Myers has been doing the iconic Shrek voice for over 20 years now, but he wasn't actually the first pick. Chris Farley of SNL fame was chosen for the role of Shrek and actually recorded about 90% of the dialogue for the film. Unfortunately, he died unexpectedly in 1997 before he could finish all his lines. They recast Shrek with another SNL alumni, Mike Myers, but after coming out of the production, Mike said he didn't want to do someone else's version, so they had to rewrite the whole script, and then he got started. But Mike recorded all of his lines with a thick Canadian accent. It wasn't until after animation began that he decided the character would be better portrayed with the iconic Scottish accent that we associate with the character today. The film had to be reanimated and cost over $4 million. Here are all the different versions of the character.
I'm an ogre! No! I'm an ogre! Hey, I'm no one's messenger boy, okay? I'm a delivery boy.
I'm no one's messenger boy, all right? I'm a delivery boy.
Did you know after filming The Goonies, Steven Spielberg played a brutal prank on the very tired director? Richard Donner, the director of the film, was excited to return home to Hawaii after a hectic shoot with an entire cast of kids. After wrapping, he said to the press, quote, "I love it in pieces, but I can't stand it anymore," unquote. So he went home, but he was in for a huge surprise. Steven Spielberg secretly put the entire cast on a plane to Hawaii just a day before he got home. He snuck them into Richard's house, all with matching t-shirts, and the best part is someone actually filmed the entire thing, so we get to see his reaction. It's one of the funniest and most wholesome things I've ever seen.
Oh my Jesus. Oh my God.
Hey, Dick, I'm watching this one. Dick, I'm watching this.
Holy I don't believe it.
What's even funnier is you can see throughout the video that he actually goes through the stages of grief, but the entire time he's laughing with disbelief.
I'm doing